Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly. In a Weekdays with Bernie segment tonight, two interesting media topics: American reaction to the British monarchy and how the national media is covering President Obama and the race issue. Joining us now from North Carolina, the purveyor of BernardGoldberg.com, Mr. Goldberg. Let's take the race deal first. What's the media headline for you?
I think the general headline was that it was a highlight of his presidency, the remarks he made. It was a boffo performance. And David Brooks of the New York Times said on television that it was a symphony. I didn't think it was any of those things. The media covered accurately what he said, but they didn't analyze at all what he left out of his speech. I have a column on my website on precisely that topic, what he didn't say. The president could have said, and I think should have said, that while racism in America is not yet dead and buried, in the year 2013, white racism is the least of the problems plaguing black America, the least of the problems. Babies having babies is a much bigger problem. Kids dropping out of high school at alarming rates, winding up in poverty and too often in prison is a much bigger problem. But if you listen to the African-American elites on TV yesterday and in the days following the verdict, you would think that the biggest problem facing young black men in America today is white guys with guns who are out to kill them. This would be laughable, Bill, if it wasn't so damn pathetic.
But in my opinion, the reason this insanity continues is because there's no bulwark to stop it. All right? So the president gets out there and he makes some decent points, and I thought it was perfectly in context for him to do what he did. But as I said, he never gets to the root of the problem. None of them do. So the black grievance industry doesn't want to get to the root of the problem. Right. This is bad for business. And the white power structure is either afraid or apathetic, so they're not going to bother with it. So it just keeps going round and round and round and round. It's never going to get better.
Last week you said they were afraid, and you're right. And by the way, liberal Democrats may be the worst, but conservative Republicans, they're not courageous on this matter either. And from a media point of view, wouldn't it be nice if somebody, George Stephanopoulos, David Gregory, if one of those guys, when they had an important black person on, said, why do you show more outrage over the George Zimmerman trial and the verdict than you do over fatherlessness in America, 73% out of wedlock birth? Why do you show more outrage over George Zimmerman than you do about the Holocaust of black people killing black people, young black men killing young black men in all of our big cities just about every weekend? President Obama has been accused, Bill, of not being a leader. He's not even a leader on a subject of race where he could be a great leader. In 1961, Martin Luther King spoke at a church in St. Louis. I'm just going to read you one short sentence. He said, "We know there are many things wrong in the white world, but there are many things wrong in the black world, too. We can't keep on blaming the white man. There are things we must do for ourselves." If President Obama had echoed those words, it would have been good for all of America and especially for young black men in America. He didn't do it.
On the Royals front, you can't get a whiter story than that. I mean, I'm just amazed at the amount of people. You look at the cable news ratings, who you never watch news. I mean, they're not here every day. But then when baby Spike or whatever they're going to name him shows up, they can't get enough. I mean, and there's no news on the baby. He's born. But he didn't say anything yet. We don't know if he spit up. There's nothing.
I've been thinking about this all day, so I have several points. First, make me care about this story. Make me care about this story. You can't do it. That's number one. Number two, you spend time at Harvard, so you're the real Prince of Canterbury. This kid is an imposter. That's number two. Number three, we have this fascination with celebrity. We're a People magazine culture. So we don't have a king and queen and prince. They do, so we latch on to that. But I think it's a bigger story for women than real men like you and me.
Well, I'm not condescending to the story. I'm just amazed that it has so much interest.
But I think a lot of women are interested in this because they have this fantasy that maybe I could, or maybe I could have in the past married a prince myself. Now,
Well,
my
Harry,
wife did.
he's still available,
My wife
Harry.
did. Don't step on the punchline, Joe. My wife did marry a prince. But, you know, that's an exception. That's an exception.
All right, I should have stepped harder on that line.
And by the way, I have the name. I know the name of the baby.
What is the name? Bernie.
Lenny.
Lenny. Prince. Now, Harry's still available, and I know a lot of young American women, you know. But I think you're right. There's that fantasy element to it. They live a life that nobody could imagine living, and there's nothing wrong with it, really. It's just fascinating. But there you go. Bernie Goldberg, everybody.